tend to want to overtalk me. I don't have the bandwidth for overtalking. I just don't. I don't have time for it. I'm running businesses. I'm busy. So what I can do is create this platform where people that wants to learn can come and start learning and stuff like that. Now, if somebody wants to engage me, a few people have engaged me in this space and they do a good job at it, including the lead attorney, including even Anton Daniels, including JR from Lapif Network, including the Sir Hales of this world, right? Sir Hales, shout out to you, by the way, is the second most biggest supporter here. So thank you, Sir Hales, right? But being able to engage is a big part of this, right? But I also get the banters. I get it. The banters, the fun, and all that kind of stuff. We need those kind of things. But anyway, back to what I was saying. This guy, the behavior is everywhere. Nigerian, they behave the same way. They start to use rhetoric like, oh, is it because, then, Black Americans will say, you're taking our jobs. Okay. Tariq Nasheed, right? See, Tariq Nasheed, right, will claim that I'm not saying that. Okay. But a lot of people that are following you are saying it. They're getting that from somewhere. They're getting that interpretation from somewhere. Okay, it's not your fault. It is what it is. But just keep in mind, you're also potentially responsible for the rhetorics that your message is creating out there, right? But again, back and forth everywhere. So let me play this clip, right? And then I'll come back to some of them real quick.
By that, there's no fear in that. We don't fear you. We're the ones who helped get you over here. I don't want to hear about all of this. You got all this education and we're sitting here with no education. Family, if you had all of this education, how come you're not applying that in your homeland? I don't want to hear about the government. The government over here is way more oppressive, and foundational Black Americans stand up to this government. That's why foundational Black Americans are the face of Black people globally.
So Nigerians or foreigners, Africans, when they are engaging these conversations, many of them are punks and stupid too. As a matter of fact, I've never engaged on Clubhouse or YouTube. I've never engaged anybody directly in this kind of conversations about ADOS or reparations. I try not to engage in such conversations the same way I don't engage in conversations about the LGBTQ rights and all this kind of stuff. It's just not my experience. I can't speak to stuff that's not my experience, right? And if I'm going to speak to it, I have to make sure that I'm coming from a place that I'm willing to learn. I'm listening. Infinite patience, right? I cannot approach this with any level of arrogance. An average Nigerian that's engaging this conversation, they are precisely engaging this conversation from a place of arrogance. The same thing that the other side also does, which is why they go in this rabbit hole and they compete with each other on who's right, who's wrong. Again, we forget that we're speaking the sign language when we're doing this. The need to be right part of it. Everyone has the need to be right or to be validated by the other person. And it's problematic, right? So Nigerians will say things like, oh yeah, but we're chasing after survival. That's why we're here in the United States, right? They will say things like that. And then Black Americans will receive that as an excuse, right? That has nothing to do with what we're talking about. All we're telling you to do is, you know what? I don't know what we're telling you to do. That's how I receive it when I'm listening. I do listen to the conversations, but I can't tell precisely what Black Americans would want Nigerians to do. It's a lot of talking in circles, right? So now I have to basically create what I am guessing they want us to do. Shut the fuck up and listen. That's about it, right? So guess what? Since it's not my experience anyway, I just kind of shut the fuck up and listen, right? Now, what I can pick out of this is body languages and sign language and say, hey, human behavior in general, how we move, because we're not going anywhere. We're going to be in each other's world. There are Black Americans moving to Ghana and buying houses as we speak right now. We're going to be in each other's worlds. That's the realities. That's the future. There's going to be a lot of biracial people around the world. It's just, that's the trend. We're not going to change that. My children have 3 kids I'm raising. They are being raised in the United States. They are going to be Americans, have American experiences. And there's no way around it. It is what it is, right? Just Jay says, right, I talk from both sides as well. Yes, from both sides of my mouth. As a man, a lot of people refer to you as a simp for doing that, because they consider you're not holding a stance, like you're not standing on something. I consider it self-control. I consider you the simp if you don't know how to see good. If everything you see is just red everywhere, if all you see is red flags everywhere, that's weak behavior. That's a weak man, and that's more so of a simp for me, you know. But we'll talk more about that as time goes on. So as you can see, he was busy talking about all the things that's heard as excuses here. People tend to, when you talk or you engage them, you tend to potentially make mistakes. Like, for example, what I'm saying right now, somebody's going to hear something that they will take an offense to in it, because they see red in everything, right? So he sees red. He says, so when people start to explain themselves, it's because we have bad government in Nigeria, in Africa, we have bad leadership and stuff like that. They come back and they use it to shame you. Sign language, right? They use your same talking points. They use it to shame you, right? The way I was raised is mostly women that I see perpetuate this kind of behavior. Okay, it's a feminine energy type of thing. If she doesn't have the masculine structure around her, and or maybe there's a feminine energy from a man that mixes with a typical woman in this social construct, it creates chaos, right? And then she will use all your rhetorics or your talking points to shame you. There's also the topic of, should men cry in front of women? I say, listen, it depends on what the hell we're talking about, right? Should a man cry in front of a woman, right? It depends on what we're talking about. If she's complaining about your bitch moves, no, that's not the time to cry, right? If she's complaining to you about your lives together in that romantic relationship, no, you don't want to be crying at that point in time. She's crying, you're crying. Like, who's the female, right? If she's confused about that, she cannot respect you. If she can't respect you, she cannot love you. She damn sure cannot be in love with you. She will interest in you will grow lower and lower, right? Am I giving excuses on her behalf? Whatever. I'm just telling you what is, okay? You're going to create the result you're going to create in this social construct, which wasn't built in the last 100 years. So at most, you're going to live maybe 100 years, right? Average 72 years, right? So in this lifespan that you have here, you're about to change the nature of a woman. It's a losing battle. You're swimming against the trend, right? The social construct we have right now was built over time, maybe 1,000 years up to 5,000 years. So if you're going to change anything,